A very warm welcome to all you wonderful viewers of Universal Mentors Association. Here we are at the very end of our panel discussions for the second Digital Education Summit and Awards 2022. So we have had some really thought-provoking sessions throughout the last 3 days, and this is one of the most important topics that we're going to discuss with some fine educators across the world joining in for this amazing panel discussion. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to the topic of the panel discussion. The topic is recommending international university, things to look before recommending an international university to students. So, I think this becomes a really important topic, keeping in mind the number of students now go to study abroad. So, quickly introducing our amazing panel, we have with us Ms. Sapna Goel, who's the career guidance counselor at Mayo College, one of the most reputed schools across India. I think across the world, we should say. Welcome, Sapna ma'am. She'll also be the moderator of this amazing session. Then we have Miss Poonam Bedi, who's the school counselor from Gems Wellington School. Congratulations. Welcome on this amazing panel, ma'am, joining all the way from Dubai. Mr. Mohammad Azhar, who's the principal of Knowledge Academy School. Welcome, sir. And Miss Oasis, who's the school counselor of Oasis Global School and Oasis group of schools. Welcome to all the eminent speakers on this amazing panel. I think this is one of the most important panels that we're discussing because a lot of students travel across the world to study, and some of the schools that we have mentioned are one of the key places from where students travel abroad. So having your experience on this amazing panel will have immense knowledge and uh, immense impact on the audience that is viewing us. So just to give you a brief, we are supposed to end at 2 at around 3:10, but since we are starting 5 minutes late, you can extend the session till 3:15, 3:20, and then we can go ahead with the rest of the event. Thank you so much, Sapna ma'am. Please take the session up.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep. Thank you for that amazing introduction. And thank you for having me here with all these wonderful panelists to discuss this very relevant topic, as you mentioned. Adding to Mr. Sandeep's introduction of the panelists, I would like to further elaborate. Mr. Azhar here today, he is the principal of Knowledge Academy School. And also, he was awarded the Educational Excellence Award by Economic Development Forum of India. He's an NLP master practitioner, a speaker and presenter at several conferences, a master trainer for educators, and consultant to various schools. Ms. Poonam Bedi here is a counselor at Gems Wellington School. She's experienced counselor, skilled in strategic planning, curriculum development, research management, and business strategy. She's a strong educational professional with masters in counseling and guidance, and also a master's in computer science. Miss Oasis, she's incidentally also the school counselor at Oasis Global School. Miss Oasis, if you could just give us a more introduction about yourself.
It's been a pleasure to be a part of this super panel on this much important topic nowadays. And thank you, Sapna ma'am, for giving me this opportunity to introduce myself. I am Oishas, and I am counselor and PRO at Oishas Group of Institutions. Basically, I have been fantasized being a teacher from my childhood, and this is the stage I am up to here. I have been working in this field from last 3 to 4 years. So I'm just a beginner, not that much experience as you all, but still.
A pleasure to have you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to start with the topic under discussion today, what to consider before recommending an international university. We'll be doing today's presentation on Mentimeter, For those of you who are familiar with Mentimeter, you know that you can simply enter this code either on your mobile or on another screen on your desktop or your screen or your computer, and you will get access to the presentation. And you can also interact with us during the presentation. And and just let's make this a little more fun and interactive for everybody, right? So I'll just give you a second to tune in to the presentation. Either you can use this code, you can go to www.menti.com and use the code, or you can use a link that I've pasted on the chat box. Either of the two things will work to take you to the presentation. So without further ado, okay, stuck again. The first question I think that always comes, at least that we worry about as counselors or as educators within schools, is why is it that students actually want to go abroad? Why do they seek international education? If there are any of you would like to enter this into your screens, so that we can see what do you think are the reasons that students are looking for education abroad. And as Mr. Sandeep said, it's become more and more popular in the last few years. So what are the reasons, according to you, for this popularity or this increasing interest in education abroad? So maybe we can just ask our panelists directly. Mr. Azhar?
Very good afternoon. Really, thanks, Mr. Sandeep Gulathi and the Government Connect team for inviting me as a panelist. So, in my perspective, why do students seek international education? Number one is the kind of the exposure what they get in the international universities, and the kind of the knowledge and the experience what they undergo, that makes them the edge over others. That is something which I as an educator experience. And in spite of being expensive, people go to the real edge of the education we get in international universities. So that's one of the key reason. And apart from that, second factor would be the economic factor of the students. That is, when they graduate from there, the kind of research happens, the kind of economic benefits they get. That would be the second reason why students go, and the career was they develop from there. That is something which I see. Third, opportunity of research, and the contribution of research to that particular area of study. That is something which I see why students are interested in getting into international education. So these are my three reasons in my experience which I see that international education is becoming very popular.
Very valid factors, Mr. Azhar, each one of them. Ma'am Poonam, if you would like to come in, what do you think? Any other reasons besides the ones Mr. Azhar has already mentioned?
Yeah, let me start with thanking everybody, and I'm glad to be part of this panel. So I think Mr. Azhar has taken care of all the top guidelines, like what the parents should and the student should think about it. Now, what I want to talk is what future demands. So the future demands now is upskilling and reskilling. Now, students, they are taking online courses, MOOCs, Coursera. So they have developed skills. Now they are equipped with the new skills, and with those new skills, the job opportunity in the native countries are limited. So they want to develop, and they look for those jobs. So they travel abroad to study and work that place. So I think that's important
I
factor?
think that's a very, very important factor that you mentioned, that as the skills develop, the aspirations develop, and they want to move on. Ms. Oasis, anything from that you would like to contribute?
Yeah, as Ma'am Poonam said, employment is the basic issue of today's youth, especially in India. The opportunities are really, really decreasing day by day in the broad fields. And as the students are increasing their skills in various fields, moreover, the job opportunities, the employment, and the seek of higher standard of living, a better environment, a high society living, and an open-minded set. I guess these are the points that students keep in mind to self-developing themselves. They opt for abroad studies.
Very true. To this, what I think all of you've covered everything. I think one more factor that I would like to add why students, at least the ones that I see, travel abroad, very often the reason is also the high competition in certain courses in India. So a child who really wants to study computer engineering and is not getting a good enough course here would often look abroad then and see whether they can get a course of the same caliber or a higher caliber abroad. So moving on to the next question. Uh, when do you think students should go to international colleges? This is another question that a lot of parents especially ask, that, is undergrad a good time? Is postgrad a good time? Or should they not go at all? In your opinion, Mr. Azhar, if you'd like to go.
Yeah, if parents are affordability is there, then go with their bachelor's degree, go for bachelor's degree. If not, then at least I would say get master's degree there.
Right. Ms. Poonam?
Yes, I agree. Actually, like for the cost point of view, if we think of like undergraduate program is better in India if they do undergraduation from India, and for the specialization they go abroad. The advantage is the low costs. Then if they are in STEM, they will get work visa, they can work, and they can work and while studying. So I think this is from my point of view, but like if the parents can afford and the child is willing to do particular courses which are not available, or the combination of subjects, the majors and minors. And like different countries, like when we talk about US, Canada, UK, they have a best of subject combinations. Like if the student wants to take economics as a major, so he can choose a minor data science. They're more liberal for the subject choices. When it comes to subject choices, I would advise to go for undergraduate program, but it is for a specialization course. Then master would be, I think, the best choice.
Right, Ms. Poonam. I think both very valid points. That besides the cost, you've also got to consider what kind of a subject you want to study, and if that is not available in India, or if that combination is not available in India, that's a very valid point. Ms. Oasis, anything from your end?
Yeah, I would also opt for the master's degree. As I said, that they can opt for bachelor's as well. But I think to prepare up to a level, bachelor's they can do from India as well, and then opt for master's for the international studies, so that they can have a base. They can be mature enough to go abroad and select the perfect subjects and to analyze the better scopes and to work as well, as Ma'am Poonam said. So I think the master's degree is more preferable.
Right. Yeah, I think Ms. Oasis, you've raised a very important point of maturity. And I think for me, besides finances that Mr. Azhar raised, these are the two main questions that I ask myself and the student when they come into my office about whether they should be going for an undergraduate program right now after school, or they should be going for a postgraduate later. I think cost, of course, is the overriding factor, but the second thing is maturity.
Yeah.
A student who does not have the maturity to manage their own timetables, their workload, their finances, and basically be a little disciplined about life, may not be the right kind of students to go abroad at an undergraduate degree. But on the other side, if a student does have all of that and is and is, a go-getter, then probably an undergraduate degree abroad is what I would prefer, because it allows them a longer time to assimilate with people from other countries, to understand their cultures, and to really get into the fabric of an institution. Because otherwise, master's degrees are 1 year or 2 year, and there's not enough time for the student to really, absorb all the varied experiences that they're getting when they go abroad. So that would be my take. And now let's move to the next thing, that whether students should go abroad or not. We could have our opinions about that, and we can have a lot of discussions about that. But the fact is that a lot of Indian students are going abroad. Right, and the trend seems to go on increasing. Of course, we had a dip in the 2020 because of the COVID thing, but in the 2021 statistics that you see here is only till March. So just in the first 3 months of March, there were almost 72,000 students who had already left for study abroad. I don't have the statistics for the whole year, but it is it's common knowledge that that there's been unprecedented increase in applications from India to study abroad programs, and a lot of Indian students are going abroad, right? There have been some there was a little bit of a thing during COVID whether this will impact study abroad eventually, right? That COVID did create a lot of uncertainties. Students were stuck in the countries that they were studying in, were unable to go to colleges. Colleges were shut down. Some of them even had to find temporary accommodations, and it was a stressful time. But even then, as Ms. Poonam had given this very important statistics, 94% more Indian students are keen to study abroad in 2022 compared to 2021. So this itself shows that COVID has in no way hampered the enthusiasm for study abroad. It has in a way actually increased and enhanced it. In my opinion, that could probably be because of the increase of exposure through all these webinars and this whole net boom that has come in. Students have realized that the number of opportunities that are open to them are much more, and they feel maybe more equipped to travel abroad now. So
there are more reasons after COVID, because the many countries, they have eased out visa conditions. This is very, very important. Second is the policies. They have made lots of changes in the policy, and the studies, visa policies, and international students forum. It's more student friendly now.
Very true. Absolutely.
So after post-COVID, these are the things, changes happen, like countries, they did it. So this is again, attraction for the students to travel abroad.
Absolutely. So now, in your opinion, I think we have already covered it. But if anybody wants to chime in about any more reasons that you see that students like to travel abroad, and which countries are more preferable and why in your practices? So, Mr. Poonam, you can go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
No, please go ahead. It's okay.
Sorry for that. I think the trend shows students they prefer UK now. The trend, they are traveling, they are applying to UK universities because of, as I discussed, like there is other students, international students friendly, the visa requirements. And now UK has given this opportunity to international students, like after they finish their courses, they can work for 2 years. So work visa is again there. And along with studies, they can work. So and scholarship, they are offering more and more scholarships to the international students. So this is the best attraction for the student this time.
Right. So is this anything?
Yeah, as Ma'am Poonam said, it is completely this was also the point I I was wanted to mention that scholarships was the main reason nowadays that students prefer to choose abroad, because they are getting scholarship and with a higher standard of living and higher standard of education. So yeah, I guess that's the reason.
Mr. Azhar.
Yeah. So in my perspective, the most preferred destination among for education, I would say like UK, US, Canada, and Australia, and German as well. Now, each country has academically, each country has their own education system designed for their own purposes. When it comes to Singapore, Malaysia, other Asian countries, as well as the countries like UK, US, and the US being in more expensive, and UK being an very Indianized way or very close to Indianized education. That's one thing which I see. And if I go to Finland or Singapore education, that is something, which is academically, it's an very very strong education is happening there, and the outcomes, and it's completely different experience altogether when it comes to Singapore or Finland as such. So given that, so the most, as Poonam ma'am has said, that UK will be the most preferred place. Yeah, it depends on the children, like students. Like for example, if somebody wants to go to study in Finland and they have to, or German, they have to learn German language or to get their visas, or for Finland, they have to learn Finnish language to get their permanent citizenship. So these things, I see that preferable for students to choose what they want to choose. But every country has their own advantages in choosing the education. Yeah.
Very true.
Just
Yes,
sorry.
yes. Poonam,
Can
yes.
I add one point in it?
Yes.
Because I'm discussing with the students, so what comes in it is I want to be a fashion designer, so I have to be in a right country. So this is again coming up when the student says, I want to be a fashion designer. So the what should be the right country? So we suggest like Italy, France, so these countries. I want to be an automobile engineer. So I should be in the right country to study. So we suggest like Germany is the best, right? So again, for economics, we suggest UK, and for computer science, it's US. So again, when they choose study abroad, again, the subject choice or what they want to be in our future is again important point here.
Right. Absolutely. So all three of you brought up some important factors, starting from a post-study work visa, what is available, subject. So depending on what kind of subject you want to study. Another thing that I think we can add is the number of years, right? So sometimes like UK would have a 3-year program at an undergraduate level. US will have a 4-year program at an undergraduate level. And I think that could also be an important consideration.
Yes.
Right. So coming to the next thing, which is which kind of covers what we're talking about already, right? So when we are looking, when a parent comes to us or a student comes to us and says, okay, I think I want to study abroad, right? And I think all of us in our practices do this. We talk about the following challenges, right? And this is also the process whereby we start selecting a country, because there's no one right country for every child. It varies from child to child and the situation to situation, as everybody rightly pointed out, right? So finance becomes one important challenge that we talk about. And as Mr. Asa pointed out, US is a little more expensive, UK is a little more reasonable. And then there's a whole variety. There's Canada, which falls somewhere in the middle. There is a lot of European countries which are quite reasonable when you compare it to the other popular study abroad destinations. And then to the finance thing is the other question that Ms. Azhar raised of scholarships.
Yeah.
Certain countries are more happy to give scholarships to international students, and other countries, scholarships are not that easily available, right? So that becomes one challenge that we talk about. A language, as somebody already mentioned, is an important challenge. So, as Mr. Azhar said, if you're going to study in Finland, you can study an English program, but eventually, if you want to settle in Finland, you will have to know Finnish. Germany, if you want to study in Germany, there are study in English programs. But if you want to study without paying a tuition fee or a very limited tuition fee, then you probably need to know German. And similarly, there are other countries with similar requirements where language becomes an important factor. I think safety is one thing which we don't talk or discuss often enough, right? It does come up sometimes, like in the middle when, or suddenly when, like right now when Russia and Ukraine are having an issue, then probably it would come up in that discussion, and maybe students would say, okay, I don't want to apply to Russia this year, right? But it doesn't come up often and not enough. There are a lot of countries where gun crimes are huge. There are parts of countries which are not as friendly or as safe for international students as other parts. And that this should be one more challenge that we must bring to the notice of our students and parents. Culture, I think all of us do speak about it, especially when children go at a very young age. Many of them talk about getting a culture shock when they see the kind of environment that they've landed in, especially when they see that there's nobody monitoring whether they're attending classes, whether they're even taking the exams, submitting their projects, and all of that is a big culture shock. Climate, again, another factor that we just assume students will get used to, but many of them have a lot of problem adjusting to it later. And then post-study opportunities that all of you have already mentioned, that countries which have good post-study opportunities are usually more favored by students when making these choices. Any more challenges you'd like to add to this?
I would like to add something on very personal on food.
Yes, that's important. Yes.
Getting Indian food in foreign countries, it's an expensive,
Yes.
expensive, act to get the Indian food there. Okay.
Right.
And getting into that climate and food habits and timings of work and timings of travel, this could be a challenge, especially people those who go for bachelors.
Very true.
Yes.
Yeah, that should be the child should be capable enough or supported by various factors to handle this.
Very true. And that is why I think one of the most important preparations that we do with children who are studying or going to study abroad is to teach them how to cook. I think it's a very, teach them how to cook, teach them how to iron their clothes,
Yeah.
use a washing machine, all of that, right? So, yes, anybody wants to add anything more to this?
Yeah, I would like to say, I think it will come in the finance only, but like the living costs and the living cost, children obviously have to take in consideration for that. If we prefer the countries which are obviously already having the paying costs are high, living standard are high, so they have to pay much higher prices for their studies and as well as for their living. So it's like a challenge for them to work as well, to study as well, and that too if they are opting for bachelor's program, so it's much more challenging.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. So shall we move on to the next?
Yeah.
So this brings us to the whole thing of finding your best fit, right? So Ms. Poonam, if you would like to take this forward.
Yes. So the best fit when we decide to study abroad. So first, what I suggest to my student is research, research, research. Because it looks very attractive, like I'm going abroad and studying, but being a child, the other consequences, the other things we can't judge. But so we need to guide students as well as parents to do lots of research on it. So start like this. Like now, if you have thought like you are going abroad to study and you have selected about the universities. Now, what is important? Now they have to take a paper and draw a mind map. Because when we just think it's an air, when it comes on a paper, we realize it better way. So when we draw a mind map, so what is important is the program content, the length of the program, the cost, social life, facilities. Very, very important is International Student Forum. How strong it is, because when it comes to the help or other support, now today's are like those who are in Ukraine studying. So if the International Student Forum with the Embassy Indian, if they are very strong, they can help students. So they should not go to the media to raise their voice like we are stuck. So if it is with the full of strength, with the university support, then the parents are relaxed, even students, like they have a backup if something happens in the future. So location is, yes, very, very important, because sometimes like when we talk about the weather conditions, other things, so we have to keep in mind cost. We have discussed, that's a major point for the parents, right? Majors and minors, like subject choices. When we talk about majors, the student have to research about the major, what they are studying, how it is important after they finish their studies. With those, the content of those majors, will they be able to get the right choice of job there? Because many the job profiles, they see what you have studied. So the majors, what their course content should come with those topics. Then the extracurricular activities. Yes. Now the like Google, Facebook, when we apply for internship programs, when the students send their CVs, they also check their extracurricular activities along with their studies. And then the alumni and current student feedback. Yes. So I have selected a university or a college. I have Googled everything, because everything in a Google is not right? So I have to cross-check that. So first important thing is, when you select a university, connect to the Indian Embassy to that place. Ask them that you are applying for this university, for this major. So I want to confirm whether it's this course and this university is properly registered and safe studying there. You will get the feedback there, or from the alumni, or from the current student feedback. So online, they can go to their website, their current student, they can connect to them, they can ask questions. This can help you to give them feedback, like if they are staying for 4 years, how safe it is, and what support they will get after that, and the placement. Is the placement safe after that? You will get to know from the current students or from the alumni.
Right. That's great, ma'am Poonam. I think you covered a lot of points, right from location, climate, cost, and everything till student feedback. Anybody else wants to add anything to the best fit? What exactly is best fit, and why do we talk about it so much?
Yeah. These are the factors are critical and crucial, and the guiding factor will be the factor which the child wants to. For example, as we have mentioned, if somebody wants to go to automobile, the German is the place, or somebody wants to go for computer science, then it is the US. So keeping that, if we guide these parameters, keeping that in mind, if we fix this or fit these factors, that would give us an ideal scenario for the children who are going for abroad, or learners who are going for abroad. That is my take on that.
Ma'am, you are
Unmute.
on mute.
Unmute, please.
I'm so sorry. There's a drill machine outside, and I thought I'll avoid that noise. I think Ms. Ma'am Poonam and Mr. Azhar have already given their thoughts on what counselors consider before advising students. Ms. Oasis, if you would like to add to this.
Yeah, one point I would like to add in it would be the self condition, or I can say the mental condition and the pace of development of the individual, because it varies individual to individual, right? And I'm going to suggest an average student to opt for a university at a which is having a very high competition, I think that's not a perfect fit for the student. In fact, it will adversely impact him or her, and may make him feel that he is not capable enough to compete in this world. So I think the mental health and the space of development is also an important factor according to me, which I often take into consideration while talking to students.
Absolutely. To this, I would like to add something, what I like to call as profile matching. So certain times a student comes to us and the student is very, very supposing, for example. And then and then they also have a very good academic profile, right? But they don't have too much of extracurricular. So they're not too much into sports, music, or other things. And they are very, very academic focused, and that is what they've done all their life. And a student like this, I think most counselors would advise should look at a country like UK, which is very academic focused in terms of an intake, right? They do offer a lot of extracurriculars once a student comes inside the university. But in terms of an intake, they are very focused on how the student is performing academically, right? And to tell a child in grade 11 to 12 to go about ticking the boxes, if you are going to apply to US, you have to have community service, you should do some music, some sports, and the child goes all crazy trying to tick all the boxes, not having any depth in any of the activities, and also compromising on his or her academic profile in the last 2 crucial years, and mental health.
Yeah.
So probably understanding what the child's profile is and matching the child to the right country according to what the country is looking at in terms of during the intake process. I think that's also another factor that we would consider in the process, right? Anybody else wants
one more thing which I want to add when it comes to foreign universities, what I have experienced is that universities, there are multiple universities, like, unlike India. It's like, they have organized themselves in such a way that every area has one university, one school, one area, one school, one university, one hospital, like that. So if, for example, if you see, you have a Newcastle University, if you go to Middlesbrough, there is a university for that. For every area, for London, you have London University, like Oxford itself is one university, Cambridge itself is one university. If you go to Belfast, Belfast is one university. So every area they have an university. So the competition is too low when compared to Indian universities. I agree that there is a competition in getting into higher getting into competitive university is there, but still students have the opportunity to learn, and the intake is the intake options of intake is very highly available for the learners to get into university. That is something which I want to highlight that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ms. Poonam, anything you'd like to highlight?
Yes, many times when we talk with the students, we try to get to know about the child, like what personality type as the child is. But there are many times the student is not vocal, or many things they skip. So we give them a brag sheet. There are certain questions, so they have to brag about themselves. Then we have to read between the lines, right? So to get the information about the child, it's a very deep study when it comes to be if the child is strong or like all the profiles, academic, non-academic profile. Wonderful, vocal, confident. It's easy to advise, but the student, when it comes to the students, those who are not vocal, good in studies, but not vocal, confined to their circle, and then it we have to find out about the child, and then accordingly we have to plan for the student.
Absolutely, very valid points. And one last point I'd like to add is something what I like to tell my students: would you like to be a small fish in a big pond or a big fish in a small pond? Because very often kids get very hypnotized by the big names that they've heard. And while these are great universities, they are not the only ones, and they may not be the best options for most of our students, right? So that's another thing that we need to consider. And in the same breath, I would say whether the child is a high need student or a full paying student, right? Because that changes the dynamics a lot too about which university is good for them. So very often parents will come with a very limited list, or relatives will shoot down lists, saying that, oh, that college is not worth going to. If you're going to the US, you have to only go here. Or if you're going to Canada, you should only go here. And without really understanding the whole picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as Mr. Azhar very correctly pointed out, that the system is very different than in India, where every region does have a flagship university. And many of these universities are publicly funded, and they provide excellent education. It is not that by going to any of these universities, you're compromising on your quality of education. But you may be, one, reducing your cost. Second, have a chance of being a big fish in a small pond, rather than the other way around, right? Anybody, Ms. Oasis, or anyone? Because
Yeah, I guess these are the main points. We have got up to the points, I guess.
right. So then I think we've already spoken about what parents and students should keep in mind. I think everything that we've talked about till now: finance, location, your child's profile, academic interests, all of those will be points kept in mind. There's another important point that we have to keep in mind. I think this is something which at least scares me when I read about it and makes me very disappointed. There is a lot of underhanded practices also going on in this field. And this is a recent news where three Canadian colleges were closed down recently. A lot of Indian students found themselves stuck with the college. They had already paid their fees, their visas were cancelled, and a lot of commotion arose. This is not a usual practice. The colleges don't really close down very often. It's a very rare thing to happen. But all these signs are already there. So if a parent or a student or the advisor had looked closely, such a thing would not happen, because are the colleges accredited from the right places? That's an important question to ask. How many years have they been in existence? How many students have they graduated, and where are those students placed? And all this information is very, very easily available on the college websites. So one thing that I would like to reiterate is, please do your own research. Do not blindly follow what somebody else has told you or advised you. It is very, very important to do your own research, check out the facts. And how do we do that? Some of this has already been shared by our panelists before, but just to kind of show you again that you do have a lot of resources to use. There are agencies. So almost every country has an office in India, which does give information about study opportunities in that country. Big countries like USA, which have a lot of education offers, education opportunities to offer, actually have dedicated offices like Education USA, which is available not only in Delhi but also in many other cities in the country, where you can easily contact them. It's free of charge, and they'll be happy to tell you whether the college is accredited, will get you in touch with students and alumni who've studied in that college and provide you a whole range of services and advise you. British Council is one. There are other colleges, there are other agencies, like there is Campus France for French education. There's now study in Australia, they study in New Zealand, they study in Finland. There are a lot of things happening, and these agencies are the official voice, which can really guide you. As Ma'am Poonam pointed out earlier, the Indian embassies in every country, and they're very happy to answer your questions too. Simply taking their website email, their email from the website and writing to them should get you an answer. Social media is a big tool in your hand. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all of these have a lot of reviews. To this, there's a word of caution. Do not believe every review that you read. You have to question who is writing this review. Does this person have a stake in the review that they're writing, or is it a neutral review? Is it a person that you can reach out to, separately, privately, to understand why they wrote that particular review? So please corroborate your facts that you get from social media. It is not gospel truth. There could be hidden agendas behind it, and thus it's very important to check that out. That said, LinkedIn is a beautiful platform where you can actually check. So if there's a particular university that you're looking at and you want to check who all has studied there, you'll get a whole list. You'll get their LinkedIn profiles. You could contact them, personally and see if any of them are willing to talk to you and share their experiences. The other thing is admission officers. Yes, Ma'am Poonam, you wanted to add something?
No, please, I'm good. You finish, then I'll just add the information which has come from the visa officers now.
Right.
Those who are applying. Now the visa officers are strict. They are given the strict guidelines. So when they apply for the visa and when they submit university options or like the documents from the university admission acceptance letter, the visa officers now they check about the universities before approving the visas. Many students applied in US for different universities, colleges, and those colleges were not registered, so their visas got rejected. Even after approving their visa, they got the visa during travel time. They were stopped at airport and they have cancelled the visa. The reason was the university they have applied for, not the genuine or not the authorized or accredited.
Absolutely. So yes, visa officers do take care of these things, but by then many times students have already spent a lot of money. And thus doing some research even before you get to that step is also very, very critical. A lot of colleges, and I think everybody, Mr. Azhar, and everybody is aware of that, almost most big universities have admission officers, and they have admission officers assigned to your region. So probably to India, probably to Southeast Asia, however it works. And those admission officers are great people to get in touch with. Not only because they will give you good advice about their university, but can also give you great advice about whether you will be a good fit and what to expect when studying in that country, right? So that is a great place. And you can find these admission officers on the college websites. So most of the time, their names and their email addresses are mentioned on the college website, and you can get in touch with them. College fairs, and I think the pandemic has really opened up this avenue for interaction. A lot of college fairs have now become online, and because of that, you can attend them from anywhere in the country, wherever you are, and really get the option of interacting one-on-one with admission officers and alumni from colleges that you are looking towards. And as websites that we've already mentioned. Yes, Ms. Poonam.
Now, the thing is, like many universities, which are good universities, they were running very well. The students were fine with it, but after COVID, during COVID time, there no international students, so there was, the most of the finances covered through the international students, what they get through as a fee. So when they didn't get international students and the funding given from the government was stopped, so they took this decision later on to close down. So here, the Indian Embassy is the best source to find about the university. Social media, you can get to know even from the alumni like passed out, because university was fine, like all the students place very well, but after COVID things are different.
Very true. Absolutely. So with this, I think we are towards the end of our presentation. We have about 3 minutes left. If any of our esteemed panelists would like to say something.
Yeah, I would like to add a point. It's like we can also put an eye on the various foreign exchange programs run by different countries with India and outside it. So from those programs, we can also select the perfect fit for us, for the students.
Rightly said. Mr. Azhar, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, the virtual fairs which is conducted by various people, like for example, Univerity or other people. There are a lot of, and those virtual fair, there are a lot of other private players, those who come to school and conduct fairs as well. IC3 is one thing. IC3 is one forum which they conduct fairs. Apart from that, you have ICAE is one, they conduct fairs, and other companies which focus on career counseling, they come and do the fairs even virtually. So a lot of people are coming up with that nowadays. So that is an opportunity for children to go and experience there. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Sorry, IDP and CANM, they are also one of them. If you apply through them, I think they are tied up directly with the universities. So they have the real-time information from these universities.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure presenting this session with you. And I hope our audience gained something out of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was, I think, one of the most amazing panels that we had, in the last 3 days. And I think we would like to wish all the panelists kudos for this amazing panel, and some wonderful insights has been shared. I think the experience speaks for itself with all the speakers joining in, and it was such a eye opener for us at Universal Mentors Association, and that involving career counselors one was definitely a good idea in the Universal Mentors, in the Digital Education Summit and Awards event. And we are definitely looking forward for hosting few more events dedicated towards the counselors across the world, where we would love to explore Dubai. I think we are very soon planning an event in Dubai. We are planning an event in India catering to the career counselors as well. And since we're connected with more than 20,000 odd schools, I think it only makes sense that we help the career counselors, and we are also connected to good more than 15,000 odd higher education institutions, whether it is universities, business schools, engineering colleges across the country. And now we are expanding in Southeast Asian market as well as the MENA region. So it is a good opportunity that we had, and to interact with the career counselors. And I think we would love to interact with more career counselors across the world in our upcoming events as well. Thank you so much, Sapna ma'am, OSS ma'am, Mr. Azhar, and Poonam ma'am for joining us for this amazing session. And with this, we draw an end towards the panel discussions for Digital Education Summit and Awards 2022. You have seen, one of the most sought out events, where more than 1,500 odd educators had been a part of this wonderful online conference. More than 120 speakers participating, over 10 odd government representatives across the country had participated. The program was initially chaired by Shri Naveen Mittalji, who's the chair of, who's the commissioner of higher education from Telangana. We were joined by Dr. Biswajit Saha. We're joined by some really amazing schools across the world, Middle East, Sri Lanka, Africa being few of them. We had some schools from Singapore as well as Dubai, as well as US. We had international institutions like SIUK. We had Seneca College and various other universities and higher education institutions across the globe participating in this amazing 3-day mega conclave of Digital Education Summit and Awards 2022. But you do not go anywhere else, because we are up with the most sought out thing after an event, and that is the award segment. We'll be live at around 4 o'clock in the evening to start off with our award segment. And please stay tuned and look out to the winners of Digital Education Summit and Awards, the award winners coming up. Thank you so much to all the wonderful panelists, and thank you and have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.